Hey guys, welcome to the Girl Take No podcast. I'm your host, Shani Sanders, and today I have with me Kimberly Lebbing. She is a personal development and mindset coach, and she's here to help us unlock our subconscious limitations and shift our energy to become an unstoppable force as entrepreneurs. Kimberly, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited about this conversation. I've been on this journey of mindset, affirmations, meditation, just really trying to shift myself in a place of growth and just trying to achieve the things that I'm trying to affirm every day. So I'm excited to have this conversation. But before we jump into the conversation, I would like to ask my guests to give me the story behind the brand. Give me the story behind what made you get into development mindset coaching.
Oh, I'd love to. And probably 99% of the coaches out there, I was on my own journey.
Mm-hmm.
So I struggled a lot. I struggled a lot with mindset. I didn't know what I didn't know in the beginning. Yeah. You know, in the beginning, you're just trucking along and you think that you need more strategy, more this, more that. And I just kept hitting a wall. Mm-hmm. And for me, it went back to whenever I grew up. My parents got married super, super young. Mm-hmm. And my dad was verbally abusive. And so I grew up with constant putting me down and that sort of thing. Yeah. And it played out. I thought I overcame it, went through counseling and all kinds of stuff, but it's still that record is really hard to break that goes on in your head. So I struggled with that for a really long time. Mm-hmm. And it was my own trying to figure out myself. And then I found stuff that works, and then I got excited, and of course I had to start sharing it.
So I was excited when you can go through your own personal journey and discover things about yourself that then can in turn help other people. Because you're right, a lot of us suffer from childhood traumas that we just don't overcome. Either, like you said, or a lot of us grow up and say, oh, it didn't bother me really. You know, a lot of us feel that way. Like, oh yeah, I had teasing when I was younger. My brother and sister used to tease me, say all kinds of things. But until you start doing real development work on yourself, you realize that those things really did bother you. Subconsciously, you held on to those things, not knowing you did. Here you are thinking, oh no, it was just teasing. It didn't bother me. It did, because it really shaped your choices and how you show up in the world.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And trauma is different for everybody. Yeah. I just want to throw that in there. Yes. So what was trauma to me is the most minute little thing that you think was nothing could have been, your subconscious may have taken it on as trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. So how has the journey of entrepreneurship been? When did you start coaching? When did this happen? When did that shift take place where you felt like, I don't want to do this full-time thing anymore. I really want to go and really focus on this and really try to help people in this area?
So there was a lot of ups and downs. I was working in corporate, mm-hmm. and I actually had a really good, successful job. I was managing a mortgage company. Mm-hmm. And making good money at it. And I really just got tired of being there. Yeah. I wanted to, this was before we ever had kids, but I wanted the opportunity to be able to be with my kids whenever we had them and have a more flexible schedule. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we had kids, and I tried so many entrepreneurial things. So, I mean, the list goes on and on. So was there a jump from full-time to part-time? I think I did everything part-time mm-hmm. up until 10 years ago. So I mean, it was a really long journey of that. And it really got to the point, honestly, for me, it wasn't that I didn't want to do it full time. Mm-hmm. It was this. Yeah. It was my own self that kept me from doing it. So that leap, gosh, there were so many things. I was like the master of everything. I did so many different things, thinking that, well, maybe this opportunity will be the thing that I'm really, I can really make it work. Yeah. Or maybe it's this one. I tried so many different things. multiples.
I think, you know what, I think that's like what a lot of us do, where we have this. I ask entrepreneurs this all the time, like, we always have a lot of ideas that we have and so much we want to do, and a lot of times people tell you, listen, bring it down, focus on one thing, and then make that your thing, and then you can get into all that other stuff. But it's like, we want to just try it all. You know what I mean?
So we do. I think it's part of the entrepreneurial spirit, really.
Yes.
But there's a little bit of ADHD sprinkled in that. I think for us, so we're just trying to figure out the thing that works. That works best for us. But yeah, there was a lot of ups and downs, a lot of tears through the years of stuff not working, and some things I tried and ended up just breaking even after, all this money, time, and effort went into it. And it wasn't until I really worked on myself for real that I was able to bring my business up into full time.
Yeah. I mean, it's a journey. You know what I mean? And I tell people, listen, taking that leap doesn't mean, hey, I'm going to get up to them quick today. It kind of is a journey where you set yourself up, you get your business going, and then you decide when is that time for you to take that leap. Right? Because it's a journey. It's not necessarily a full stop. Because I'm like, hey, don't quit your job today. Make sure you have something in the works. You know what I mean? Because we all have to make money and live. We have to take care of our families, have to take care of bills. But I think it's so wonderful to hear that every time I talk to an entrepreneur, it's never been like the money that drove them for entrepreneurship. It's more so been, like you said, freedom, being able to spend more time, being able to own your time and not have to be dedicated and committed to someone else's time of you, job schedules and stuff like that. So it's always been about something more personal, and I love that, to get people to understand the journey, and that everybody don't wake up one day and they're all viral and successful. Viral wasn't even a thing really back 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's like,
right, right. I mean, I remember we had dial-up internet,
exactly.
Back in the beginning.
And when it comes, so funny, because when it comes to coaching, you think about now, everybody is coaching, right? But back then, like you said, when you started, it wasn't like the thing that a lot of us knew about,
No.
And it's like, and it was so how did you get clients? Was it more word of mouth? Because I don't know if it was a lot of marketing that came into it, or was it more so just that guerrilla marketing, like word of mouth, beating the pavement, going to networking events?
It was for me. So coaching fell in my lap.
Mm-hmm.
I actually started out as a health coach.
Okay.
And the reason I started out as a health coach is we had health issues here in my family. Kids, on the autism spectrum, autoimmune stuff. We did a diet. My doctor asked me if I could start teaching her other patients.
Wow.
So that's how I feel like that was a whole universal here.
Yeah.
This is your new career. And so that's how I got started. But I mean, it was all referral based then. There was no, and I didn't have enough to go full time from that. But it was a big credibility boost, when I went in to talk to people. It was huge to be able to say, well, my doctor wanted me to come in and talk to you about this.
Exactly.
So so that was huge. And then I eventually, so just to kind of make the connection, I was learning that people that had health issues, a lot of them had past trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I gradually started moving over towards mindset. So there's the connection in case your audience is going, what?
Yeah, that is true, because a lot of our mindset stops us from achieving our goals. That's true. So it's definitely connected. Did you always see yourself as an entrepreneur? Or did you think that, hey, I thought I was going to be the corporate girl for life?
I think that, so I talked about my dad earlier. My dad, so if I'm going to, give him credit for the stuff that didn't serve me, I'm also going to give him credit for the good stuff, because he was a farmer and he worked his butt off.
Yeah.
And I saw that. My mom was very entrepreneurial. She also had multiple businesses. I remember her, helping her with her little home-based businesses and when I was a kid. So I think that put the drive in me. Yeah. So I saw that. The corporate stuff was what I felt like, yeah, no, that's just what you're told to do.
Yeah.
You know, you go to college, you go get a job, go to college, go get a job. You know, and then, you know, be there long enough. I mean, back then, stay there long enough, and then you'll have a nice retirement pension, and all that's kind of out the window now. But
yep, it is. Nothing is secure anymore. Mm-hmm.
Right. But I really got the bug when I was at home. Mm-hmm. Obviously, because I tried so many different things.
Yeah.
but I just, it's a lifestyle that I would never want to leave.
Oh yeah.
It is just, there's so much time freedom in this.
Oh yeah. That's what I mean. That's the goal for my audience. A lot of my audience are women who are trying to figure out how to take that leap and when it's time to take that leap. So, because a lot of us want that freedom of time to spend with your family and just to do more of the things that you love to do. So I think that's really awesome. So let's get into the subconscious mindset, or just mindset alone, because the mind is, as cliched, it's a powerful tool, right? It can really make or break us. Our own mind, where we think it's someone else's views of us, when really it's just how we feel about ourselves. So how do you help your clients? How do you start helping your clients shift their mindset?
That's a loaded question.
I know. It can be a lot, right?
It is a lot. It is. Well, there's so many things there.
Yeah.
So I do subconscious work with people. Mm-hmm. So what I do first is we dive into what's the one thing that's showing up in different areas that's, if you shifted it, would make the biggest impact. So we start there, and then we keep diving in, because I hear things like, you know, I'm procrastinating, or I'm inconsistent.
Yeah.
And you know, for your audience, I would dive into that a little deeper and start asking questions like, where else does this show up?
Yeah.
And, you know, how has that been a problem? So that, and if you keep asking, you can drill down to what's the real issue, because that's the whole point. Like getting down to what is the real issue here. Is it procrastination, or is it I don't think I'm enough, and I don't think I'm worthy of, you know, doing or having this business or bringing in this income, because many times now I went straight for the heart of it, but many times that's what it is. It's not, oh, I procrastinate or I'm inconsistent. It's I'm not worthy, or I have this belief that I'm not enough to be able to earn this income and do this business on my own.
Yeah, I think that's a big piece of it too. It's that imposter syndrome, where you don't feel like, where you can have all these accolades. And it's so funny. I was just talking to a friend of mine the other day. She's a doctor. What is it called? Not an OBGYN, but the one we see on a regular basis. I forgot what it's called again. You know, the one we see all the time. So she's a doctor and she has great clients, but still she deals with imposter syndrome when she go to conferences and be around other doctors. And she finally opened her own practice, but for so many years she felt like she just didn't have what it took to do it. So all these other people around her her other colleagues were doing it, but she was just so afraid to take that step. And I'm like, God, you have all these accolades. I mean, you are a doctor, for God's sake. You went to school for this, years of your life. But yet that imposter syndrome sits in, and that doubt of, am I really worthy of this? Is this really what I want? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? I think a lot of us are truly seeking our purpose, right? Of what we really want to do. And it's not an easy road to discover it. And I think some people do. And I think some of us are always on that journey to discovery.
I 100% agree. And I will say, you know, with your friend, your doctor friend, I have seen the most successful people, what I would say are like, you know, they're making millions of dollars. They've got all the success, say they still deal with things like imposter syndrome.
Yes.
So I think that I mean, there is a difference. Like some people are able to do it anyway, despite the thoughts. And for some of us, like the way I grew up, like that was a stopping point for me. Like I really had to do some major inner work before I was able to step outside of that. But it affects everybody is my point. No one, so there's not, even if you see somebody that's like, oh, they've got all this success, they're all this, they're all that, it comes in layers. Like these limitations that we have, there's layers of it. And, once you start a personal growth journey, you're not going to be done.
Yeah.
Until maybe you're dead.
Yeah, exactly.
but you're never done.
Yeah.
It's a journey for a reason.
Are we just like, I guess these limitations, are they taught to us? Or are they just something we just pick up, subconsciously? Or, because I'm like, we're not born with these limitations. We're not born subconsciously, we're not born with these limitations on us, right? Because we're babies, we don't know yet. It's when we grow and begin to discover things. It's when we, like you said, people say things to us. Like, how do we build these limitations in our lives?
It's a combination of things. And I actually want to touch a little bit about, are you born with it? Because I have a little bit of an opinion about that. But for the most part, it's our surroundings. It's the words we hear from, whoever is raising us, whoever we're around the most. It's things that happen. If you fell down the stairs at 2 and your parents went, freaked out in fear that you might be hurt, then you might be afraid to take risks or, something later in life. Yeah. Like there's just so many things that create these filters, but it's your beliefs. It's everything you take in. And everybody is different. So, because everybody's got a different experience. I mean, when you talk with siblings and they've all been in the same household, same parents, they all have different filters. They all have different things that are problems. Yes. So it's not, no one's the same. Yeah. And then to kind of backtrack on are we born with it? I do want to say this, that we do pass down emotions genealogically. Yeah. So if you have, I have a grandparent that has tons of anxiety. I can see it in my dad. I can see it in my kids. I struggled with it and sometimes still do, so there are things that are passed down to us that are beliefs that they are putting on to us. So in that way, sometimes you can be born into it.
You're right. Now that I think about it, when it comes to anxiety and how you may have it and your kids can have it and you get it from your mom. So you're right. You can be born with certain things. That's true. Yeah. I didn't think about it like that.
The good news is you can break the cycle. Yes. Like you can literally, if you can be the person. Like you can literally be the person that breaks that cycle. And then, generations after you will no longer have that coming in. So, and that's one of the things that really fuels me in my business is being able to break those cycles.
Yeah. Where do you see people struggling the most when it comes to their subconscious mind, their subconscious limitations? Is there a particular area where they struggle the most? Struggle getting past the most?
So there's a couple things I see a lot. People pleasing.
Oh yeah.
Is huge. It's got different roots, as far as like the root cause of it. One of the symptoms that I see is they're overwhelmed. Their schedule is all booked out. They're tired. They're frustrated. And there's this whole guilt cycle going on. So I feel guilty if I say no, and then because I feel guilt because I don't want to hurt your feelings or whatever is going on there. And then I also feel guilty if I say yes, because I know deep down that's taking away from the business that I want to build. Yeah. Or it's taking away time from my family. or, you know, whatever that is for you. So that's a common one. I see it all the time. I would say most people have that to some degree.
You think
it's got different reasons.
Yeah. Do you think people know that they're people pleasers, or they don't know until someone brings it to their attention?
Most of the people that I work with know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As soon as they, in fact, they know, but they can't stop it.
Yeah, because you know, it's so funny. You say that. I have a friend who's just like that. She says, and I have to tell her, listen, it's okay to say no sometimes. You know, you're right. They're stretched thin, but yet here they are saying yes to yet another thing. And for the life of me, I just don't understand why she keeps saying yes to stuff. And now you're right. Maybe it's that she don't want to hurt people's feelings. She don't want to disappoint someone. But I'm like, it's okay. You need to step back, because how are you going to accomplish anything if you're saying yes to everything?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's so many layers to that, to that people pleasing. There's that, need to be validated.
Yeah.
Like maybe I wasn't validated as a kid.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't get that approval. And so I'm seeking it from other people. Mm-hmm. There's, a need to be wanted. I mean, there's so many different things. Yeah. It's a little bit different for everybody.
Yeah.
But people pleasing is probably the most common thing I see, for sure.
I know that need to be validated shows up a lot in personal relationships, especially like husband and marriages, boyfriend, girl, because you want to be validated by your partner. And a lot of times you don't think there's nothing wrong with that. You're thinking like, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to let me know that I'm beautiful, that you want me, that you love me, and all that stuff all the time. You know what I mean? That's how we feel. And I get it that no, it's not something that someone has to do all the time. Then that must be something deeper going on in terms of why do I need to feel validated all the time? I need to see what that's about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say if it's showing up in your personal relationships, it's probably showing up in the business too. There's no separating that. I mean, we think we can separate that stuff because we have separate bank accounts and all, we do, right? Hopefully if you're a new entrepreneur and you don't have a separate bank account, you need to go get one.
Yes,
but
you do.
But side note, but it's impossible to separate that stuff emotionally, because it's just all interconnected.
Yeah. Have you seen it suffer? Have you seen businesses suffer because of it?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Because they're not getting their own goals done. And then they get burnt out. Yep. Which that's where by the time I see them, they're at the point where they're like, I think I'm ready to lose this vision that I had. I had a vision, but I'm so exhausted. I just don't even know if I want to do this anymore, kind of thinking. They do, but they're just tired.
Yeah.
And it can be, guilt has that's a heavy emotion.
Yeah, it is.
And I mean, if you're constantly feeling guilty throughout the day, even in conversations, because you're letting meetings run over because you don't want to tell them you have to go.
Yeah.
Or, it just shows up in so many different ways. And whenever you can overcome that part and really get to the real core of it, it can really be a life-changing thing.
I know. I know it can be freedom to recognize it. I went through this personal development training, and it was always that thing of you don't know what you don't know, what you don't know. Right. And that's basically your subconscious mind. And a lot of time we tell ourselves that we don't want something when subconsciously, is that what you want? I think the thing that was real life changing for me during this program was they asked the question, what do you want? Like they kept asking the question, what do you want? What do you want? To the point where it became very emotional, because it's almost like you're afraid to say what you really want, because you've been saying something different the whole time. And then truly deep, because for a long time for me, I always felt like, because all my friends were getting married, and I always felt like, oh, well, I don't have to be married. It's okay. I don't need to be married. And then when I went through the exercise, it just kept asking, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And I finally said it out loud. And it felt like, oh my God, this is what I truly want. And I'm married now, but 5 years in, But it was just absolutely life-changing when you're really able to dig deep down, do whatever work you need to do to really help you flourish. And like I said, as an entrepreneur, you really need to be able to understand what blocks you from growing, because so many of us wonder, well, why am I not growing? Why my business not growing? Why am I keep hitting this ceiling that I can't break through? And it's because we need to do some more work, right, Kimberly?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I love that they ask you over and over again, what do you want? Because that's so key. Because so many times we don't like to really deal with it.
Yeah.
Like we don't want to answer it. We're afraid to answer questions. And it's really that getting real with yourself and being available or willing to sit with yourself and listen for the answers that come.
Being open. I think you have to be open-minded. You know, you have to be open-minded to a process of working on yourself. Coming into like a program of yours, I think you have to be very open and ready to say, okay, I have to be vulnerable. I think vulnerability is what scares us. Being vulnerable. Because once we're vulnerable, then it's like, okay, now they know everything. And now what are they going to do with it? It's that fear of judgment.
Yes. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head there. There's a lot of fear of judgment.
Yeah. And I know that's what stops a lot of us as entrepreneurs, is that fear of judgment. That what if I don't make it? What if people don't like it? You know? How do we, like, what steps can we take to kind of get ourselves on the path of redefining our mindset? Because for me, it's more so like I'm doing my affirmations. I'm listening to positive audiobooks. You know what I mean? Like I'm really trying to feed my mind positivity and being able to meditate. I've never been able to meditate before. My mind was always too busy. But now I've been able to just kind of sit down. I'll only do it for 5 minutes because if I do it any longer, Kimberly, I swear to you, I'm thinking about something else. You know what I mean? So I'm still
I get you. You got to start somewhere. I started in the same place.
5 minutes. That's it. And I was sitting there quietly, really focusing on the affirmations I just spoke to try to visualize it. You know, so what are some of the things you think people can start doing to help reprogram their mindset?
So in my opinion, like you want to do all those things, the affirmations, listening to all those things, but until you delve into those filters, those subconscious filters, they may block you. So I have a client, she actually went through one of my groups recently, and then she came on as a one-on-one client. In the group, we wrote out some affirmations. So there wasn't one-on-one help. But she wrote out an affirmation for herself it said something to the effect of, I'm going to find 3 new clients this month and, X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
And she told me, this was just yesterday, that she was having trouble even saying the affirmation.
Wow.
And, the reason she's having trouble saying the affirmation is her belief. The limitation is that, we boiled it down to all kinds of things like trust and like some deeper things, but she doesn't believe she can do it. And she doesn't believe that, so there's, if you don't believe it, if you don't do the inner work before you see the affirmations, then you could be doing more damage than good.
Wow. I didn't even think about it like that. But you're right.
Yeah, so you don't want to just cram down any old affirmation. Make sure, I will say this like a disclosure for everybody listening, make sure that it feels good when you say it. If it feels like, if you feel icky or you feel hesitant to pick them up and look at them or say them, then you probably need it reworded or come back to it after you've, done some inner work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is.
And I don't know that I actually answered your question about what to do next.
No, I think that
I can get into that.
No, I think you're right, because you're right. You need to do the self-work first, before you can start thinking more positively and putting those affirmations out there, because you want to know that you can actually achieve them. You want to believe what you say, because that's the whole point of affirmations, honestly.
Yeah, that's the word says, it affirms.
Exactly. So you have to believe it. And if you don't believe it, then, as I say, if you don't believe it, then you won't see it.
Right.
And
and there's things you can do, like you mentioned, visualizing. That's a great way to do it, as long as you can easily visualize.
Yeah.
So, like, if you've got this thing that says, I don't believe I can do this back here, then you're going to have a hard time with the visualization, and you're going to have a hard time with the affirmation.
Yeah.
So digging into that, you want to identify, what is it that might be getting in the way? So with her, I just kept asking her questions, like, how has this been a problem?
Yeah.
How has that been showing up? And really just letting her sit and get quiet. And we boiled it down to a very specific word, but it was all under trust. So, and trusting herself, and trusting, her resources and different things. So really diving into that, because you can't shift a subconscious limitation when you're not even aware of it. I mean, that bringing it into awareness is huge, because in the beginning, if you're working through this on your own, once you identify it, life kind of has a tendency to show up and like give us opportunities.
Yeah.
To go, well, okay, here's this thing again that you keep doing. Are you going to go back to the old way, or are you going to do something different this time?
Yeah. It's, I think as an entrepreneur, mindset is like probably one of the biggest things we need to work on. Because like you said, it's our belief system. And not just our belief system, goes with everything in our life. It's tied to everything in our life. If you want to have successful relationships, marriage, relationships with your children, it's all about our belief system. It really is. And believing that we can do these things. And I asked a question before, and I'm asking this question too with another friend of mine. Why do you think that we tend to lean towards the negative belief versus the positive belief? It's almost like we're more comfortable in the negative than we are in the positive. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it is. There's different philosophies around this. I mean, one of them is we are kind of attached to it. There's this, so our subconsciously, if we heard you're not good enough, or you're not worthy of making this type of money, if you heard that in any way, if you just heard some form of that and that's what you took on, there's a part of your subconscious that's going to try and prove yourself right. So,
wow.
It's, yeah. So that's kind of where the negativity stuff comes in, because we have a need to be right. And it goes, I mean, even subconsciously, we try and pull the things in. We do the actions to prove it right. We do. And it's until you shift that belief, become aware of it and shift it, that's when the negativity gets less and less. It's also a practice.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. I mean, in the beginning, because of the way I grew up, my gosh, I remember going to my first seminar on mindset, and this was, I don't know how many years ago, 15 at least. And I cried all the way home. I literally cried all the way home, because I was so aware that, oh my gosh, how I talk to myself, how I talk to my kids, I have been saying, I was just like, I'm doing it all wrong. I've been doing it all wrong. My kids are going to be ruined.
Oh my God.
But
that's the worst.
but it was such a wake-up call.
Yeah.
And it took training. So, I did a lot of just self-awareness, because you're not going to be good at it at first.
No.
You're going to know, but that noticing and just saying things to yourself like, would I talk this way to a child?
Exactly.
Would I talk this way to my younger self?
Yes.
Would I say these things to another person? Would I say this to my best friend? Because you wouldn't. And if you start looking at it through that filter, you'll become more aware, and you'll be able to go, stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Do over.
I think you just said something that was so mind-blowing, to the fact where we want to prove ourselves right. So whatever we say about ourselves is what we work towards.
Yes.
Oh my God. And no matter if it's negative or positive, right?
Yes. That's it. You got it.
Oh my God. That is like, I don't think I've ever heard it in that manner before. You know what I mean? Like, ever. And it just like blows my mind. I'm going to share it with other people, of course, because it's such a pivotal thing, because you think it's true. Like, if we say all these negative things about ourselves, we work towards to be those negative things. You know what I mean? Like, we really do. And we wonder why certain things are not changing. It's because of what we said before. Words have so much power. People say it all the time. And I think we really need to understand that it is a true statement. Words are very powerful. What you put in the universe, what you speak about yourself is powerful. Is what you actually work towards becoming. I mean, that just blew my mind, Kimberly. I swear to you, it did.
Awesome.
Because I've been very, like I said, this takes practice. I've been working towards speaking more positively about myself, about my business growing and stuff like that. So I've been really like intentionally saying certain things about myself, and intentionally not speaking negative or doubtful things about myself, because it takes work, because it's so easy to just say the negative. It's so comfortable for some reason to just be like, oh, it's too much to do. I'm not going to do it. It's never going to really work out. So I'm not going to put my all into it. It's easy and it's safe to say it. It's like I'm around one of my nieces, and a lot of times she comes around and she's always saying, oh, I'm so exhausted. Oh, I'm so tired. Oh, I'm so tired. And it's what I hear all the time from her. And I said to her the other day, I said, you know what? You really like to live in the I'm tired space. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. She has 2 kids. She's a single mom, and she loved living in that space. And I'm just like, you really need to come out of that space. You know what I mean? And really, so you can really pursue the things that you want, because now I'm going to tell her, simply because you say it a lot is exactly what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're becoming an exhausted person that can't even pursue anything else, because that's what you say about yourself.
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, that's honestly, when I was health coaching, that's what I was noticing. I started mindset coaching a little bit within that health coaching practice, but that was the thing I'd hear people say, I'm tired. And I tell them, like, you don't have to lie to yourself.
Yeah.
Could you say something like, I'm tired, but put a but on the end of it to kind of transition into it. I'm tired, but I know I'm going to have enough energy for the day. Or I'm doing things to help my energy level, just to transition into that. And you can apply that to business too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If you're in a space where it sounds like too much to say it the positive way, just put a but. Add a but on it.
Exactly. But I'm still doing it anyway.
Right.
That's what some people tell you, do it scared. Okay. You scared, but do it anyway. Do it scared. So that's the way it goes. So what advice or any tips or things you can give people who are maybe, struggling with their mindset, and it's holding them back from starting their business, or holding them back from growing their business or giving more to their business? What advice or tips you can give that person?
I would say, so if they're struggling to get started, I want to say do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, do it anyway.
Exactly.
But get yourself some support. Call a friend. Have an accountability partner. Go, get yourself in a community. Listen to this podcast.
Yes.
I mean, get yourself some support so that you don't feel like you're by yourself. Because if you're trying to do it by yourself, even though, there's so many of us are solopreneurs, but you don't want to be alone.
No.
Like, you want to surround yourself with people who can lift you up and who can support you and can keep that journey, that personal growth journey front of mind.
Yes.
Keep that front of mind.
Yeah, I like that. It's all about who you surround yourself with to support your community.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. I mean, I remember in my early days, my friends shifted, like who I hung out with. And it wasn't that I don't love them anymore. Yeah. It wasn't like I said, oh, I don't want to be around you anymore. But they did, it shifted for me. And because the before Kim that was putting herself down all the time, probably because my need to prove myself right, I'd had to surround myself with other people that put themselves down all the time.
Exactly.
So you really want to pay attention to that. Pay attention to your friends and who you're with.
Yeah, and I think that's what happens. Yeah, and I think that will happen when you're growing and you're doing that self-development work, is that you do begin to lose friends, not lose, but just reposition people, friends and family, in your life, because our family can be like our number one of everything
that's a whole
we do.
Other podcast.
It is. We can go deep into that one. But that was good. I like that. This was good. This was a good show, and I think everyone is going to get something out of it, because mindset is so huge, and as entrepreneurs, we have to work on our mindset if we want to have real success. If we want to have a great career or whatever you want to achieve, we have to work on our mindset. We have to shift it. We have to get into programs like you have. Do you want to tell my audience about any of your programs that you may have right now that they might be able to be a part of?
Yeah, I'd love to tell you about, I've got a free resource.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about, subconscious limitations. I actually have a resource called Unlocking Your Authentic Self on my website. Yes. You can go to my website, KimberlyLebbing.com, and you can download that. And it's got specific steps, some journaling steps to really dive into what that thing that's been getting in the way the most might be. Yeah. Because that's huge.
Yeah, that is big. And we'll make sure we drop that link in the show notes as well, so that our audience can be able to get to that freebie that you have easily. Well, this was a great show, and I know I've gotten a lot of it. Like I said, that one thing just blew my mind, which really has shifted me in my thinking. Like, okay, listen, Shawnee, you got to speak nothing but positive thing, because you want to work toward positivity. You want to see growth. That's what you want to see. But before we end the show, Kimberly, I'm going to ask you a question I ask all my guests. Tell me some of the best advice you ever received from another woman.
So what comes to mind with that is one of my coaches. So I have coaches too, and who asked me, when am I going to start trusting myself? And it went into alignment, like being aligned with the activities that you're doing, with everything, and really trusting, instead of trying to follow what this person out there is doing and that person is doing and all that. Instead of that, trusting myself and knowing that whatever it is that I already know what to do. Like, I already know what to do in my business. I already know all the steps, and really listening to that inner voice. Yeah. We all already have it in us.
Yeah. Trusting ourselves more. That's a good one. I like that, because that's something that we need to do more, and something we probably don't do at all, is trust ourselves to really get to where we need to be. So I thank you for that. That was awesome. This was a great show. Thank you so much, Kimberly, for being on the show. Guys, listen, I'm Shawnee Sanders. This is the Girl Take No Podcast, and we will talk to you next time.